But in general, I think the world's full of bad people. Like I was saying to Ray, the world's full of bad people. And yeah, I think sometimes you need somebody to put the hammer down. I think Obama said this, and just say, I'm sorry, you can't expose our secret agents. And we have to think of our security first. Yeah. I mean, yes, I'm sure the government does some gnarly things.
What's happening, everybody? Well, he's at it again. Bill Maher recently sat down with Tulsi Gabbard on his show Real Time with Bill Maher to discuss the U.S. government's obligation to be transparent with the American people. As they debated, Bill Maher's trust in the government came across as surprisingly naive, especially in contrast to Tulsi Gabbard's strong stance on public accountability. Now, let's watch Tulsi Gabbard wreck Bill Maher by backing up her points with facts, not feelings. Let's go.
Okay, now that Wikileaks founder Julian Assange, oh, good, let's get to this. What?
Oh, it's good.
No, me too, has pled guilty to espionage and secured his freedom. I didn't see this coming, by the way. I didn't think he'd ever get out. What will his legacy be? Yes.
Time served. Time served. He served 6 years, and that's what he's getting.
No, but they're talking about his legacy, and that's what I want to know. Is he a heroic crusader exposing government lies, or he is a reckless traitor who was endangering our freedom?
Yeah, I mean, it depends who you ask. I think that the more people have been, I think that he is an example of his prosecution. The charges against him are one of the biggest attacks on freedom of the press that we've seen and freedom of speech. So.
Wow, I thought you would go the other way.
No, not at all.
I think Ellsberg looks good right now.
What?
Daniel Ellsberg looks very good right now in what he did. And the Pentagon Papers was about how the Kennedy administration and Johnson administration, not Nixon, what they did to lie about the war.
Well, I don't know all the particulars. I mean, you'd have to really spend months and months going through the amount of stuff he put out. But in general, I think the world's full of bad people. Like I was saying to Ray, the world's full of bad people. And yeah, I think sometimes you need somebody to put the hammer down. I think Obama said this, and just say, I'm sorry, you can't expose our secret agents. And we have to think of our security first. Yeah. I mean, yes, I'm sure the government does some gnarly things, but I don't like this. I don't like a guy who pretends that he's the patriot when it's the spies out there who are protecting this country, not Julian Assange. Because there are people who want to destroy this country.
That's true.
Remind me what Mark Cuban said again. Oh, yeah. Donald Trump doesn't surround himself with any strong women. Okay. Oh, William, so naive again. Even though your takes were awful and Tulsi really did have to take you to school, you did say a couple things on there that are correct. And I always give credit where credit's due. The world's full of bad people. Good point. I'd never thought about that before. And I'm sure our government does some gnarly things. Yeah, I think they probably do. Oh, and actually maybe a third thing. We do have to put our country's security first. But what we don't have to do is be lied to by the people that are supposed to be working for us. You see, Bill, there's a difference between a journalist or anyone giving away military secrets or assets to our enemies and exposing the ridiculous lengths our government goes to lie to its people and hide things from its people. So for everyone out there that hates Donald Trump, don't blame it on Republicans. Don't blame it on MAGA. Don't blame it on him. Blame it on the U.S. government lying to the American people unchecked for 40 plus years. If the government and their growing collusion with the media hadn't been happening over the last 40 to 50 years, Donald Trump wouldn't be in your life. I don't know if he even would have ran. And if he did, who knows if we would have won. But there was a large group of people in this country that wanted someone held accountable for all the BS they've been feeding us. And you can't say that the American people aren't forgiving people. They mentioned Daniel Ellsberg in there. The Pentagon Papers were published in 1971. It's almost like we said, all right, government, you did something bad, but we're going to let it slide this time. Just don't let it happen again. And it happened again and again and again. And then with the information age, 2010 comes along, we get Wikileaks, And we're like, we knew they were lying to us, but this much? Then in 2013, you've got Edward Snowden telling us that the government's just collecting endless amounts of data and listening to all of us and basically infringing on whoever's privacy that they want to at any given minute of any given day. And finally, you got a candidate who said, drain the swamp. People argue he hasn't done it, but we at least like a candidate that acknowledges there's a big problem with accountability. Many of us would rather have a candidate that at least tells us he's going to try to do it than people that pretend it isn't there and just go on with business as usual. Anyway, back to the video. In this clip, they're talking about the draft. Let's go.
Should women be required to register for the military draft? I saw this. This is so interesting. The Democrats, so great at politics. I don't know why they brought it up now. I mean, men, I almost forgot this. Men do still have to register for the draft. Nobody gets...
Well, this is actually something that they also just changed in the legislation through the National Defense Authorization Act. Just a few weeks ago, is now men don't have to register because they're automatically registering them as soon as they turn 18.
Okay.
So you don't have to actually, you don't get to fill out a card or anything anymore.
But I remember I was about to be registered. I just turned 17 in 1973 when they were still drafting for Vietnam, and it was like that was the year. It was like, oh, we're not. Oh, it's like, oh boy, did I luck out on that one. But they still registered you. Now the Democrats in an election year have brought this up for I don't know what reason, saying now we want women to register because there's 250,000 women in the military right now, and if something was so catastrophic that we did have to draft people, why shouldn't women go? But why bring it up in an election year are my two questions.
Well, first of all, we shouldn't have a draft.
At all?
No, I don't think so.
But if it's an emergency?
Well, the fact that they're bringing this up now, to me, points to the fact that the only reason we would need a draft is because our warmongering politicians are starting wars that they know the American people aren't going to support.
First of all, can we take a moment and all collectively thank sweet baby Jesus that Bill Maher wasn't drafted into the military? I think the armed forces dodged a bullet on that one, no pun intended. Can you imagine? Can you imagine Bill Maher on the battlefield? Mortar fire just hammering down around him, bullets whizzing by your head, and Bill gets out of the foxhole and says, okay, do we really need all these guns? Okay, I'm well aware that's a horrible impression, but the image is kind of funny. Give me a little credit on that. And then the whole women in combat thing. Look, I'm all about the whole equal rights, equal lefts thing, and watching videos of women playing sports against men getting wrecked when you've got feminists and leftists telling us there's no difference between men and women and all this stuff. But my male brain, which I have because I'm a male, I think inherently tells me to protect women. So I don't think women need to be serving in combat. I respect anyone who serves in the military. I want to make that very clear. I could go down to a list of reasons why I think it's a bad idea, but I'll just leave it at my first instinct, which is men should protect women. Oh, and by the way, can you believe that the media, wait, of course you can believe that the media did something crazy, but wasn't it crazy that the media tried to act like Donald Trump said something horrible when he said, we're going to protect our women, whether you like it or not? And they acted, now we need to give consent to protect women. I don't know what's going to happen in the election, but I think it's a good sign when the media and the left is that desperate that they're trying to make a story out of Donald Trump saying he's going to protect women. I've never given much thought to there not being a draft. It's been in place for the entirety of my life. But based on the couple of sentences Tulsi Gabbard said about it and just thinking about it, my initial reaction is I agree with her. I really am curious. I haven't done a lot of research on it or thought real hard on it. That's my initial impression, but if I'm wrong, tell me. And I know you will. You know, you never have to ask the people that hate your guts to tell you. They'll be in the comments for sure. But whether you hate me or not, let me know what you think about this whole draft issue. Anyway, that's it for today's show. If you like people with horrible takes getting roasted by people that use logic, like Tulsi Gabbard, then click on one of the videos that just popped up. Otherwise, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you watching today. The end.